Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Social Work 12th podcast. I'm Taylor, here with my co host Faith, and today we're going to be talking about budgeting again. But today, specifically, we're talking about Faith and I are sharing specific techniques that we use for budgeting. How does it actually look? I think it's helpful to have this conversation because we don't really talk about money. I mean, that's the whole point of this podcast in general, right? Is that we're trying to talk
Right.
about money more, and I think we hear, "Oh, you need to budget. Oh, you need to budget." But, how do people actually budget? I have found that it's been helpful for me to learn from other people when they share different techniques, and so hopefully you can take away something from this episode, get some ideas or whatever to help with your budgeting journey.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start off with Faith
Yeah.
and her
Yeah.
techniques. And yeah, so where do you want to start? Like what you guys are doing now, what you've used
Yeah.
before.
The thing I think is important to note in the beginning is that you and I are trying to create an environment where we increase financial literacy. We're trying to talk about what we didn't talk about in grad school. We're trying to open up that conversation, right? And I think one of the things that we don't talk about in grad school, but we also don't talk about in high school or in a lot of areas of our life is money and budgeting and finances. And so I
Right.
think for me, I am really passionate about increasing financial literacy. That's something I wish I had learned in high school before I even went to college. And so I think this podcast and what we're doing is like that is what we're trying to do. And so by us talking about our budget and getting into the details, we are, hopefully meeting that goal.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. 100% agree.
Yeah. So I guess we could just start with like what was the first few tips or like how budgeting started for my spouse and I. Maybe I'll start there. So, and like techniques that we've used. So, you know, the first thing that we used as a technique was the envelope system, right? A lot of people probably know what this is. You set aside money, you like make all your categories, your bills, your fun money, your savings, and you take cash and you put it in envelopes. And then when the money's gone, you have no more money to
Yeah,
spend. And
you guys
so,
actually like took cash out and
yeah,
had
like we
envelopes.
were
Wow.
like
Yeah.
pretty intense about it.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first thing we did. And then we were like, this is really annoying to pull
Yeah.
out cash
It is
and put
annoying.
it in envelopes. It did make me more aware. I think having something tangible and physical and it's in my hands and then it's gone really helped me change my relationship with money. Where if it's just a number on a screen, there's something about it being tangible. I don't know. That really worked for me in terms of I need to get this, I need to be more aware of where my money's going. And it kind of, I think, built that awareness. So, yeah, we did the envelope system at first. But now we just use an Excel spreadsheet and we have different bank accounts for different purposes. We have like our checking account, we have our savings account, we have like our family planning account, or we have our housing account, right? If we want to save, when we were saving for a house, it was like down payment account. So using those as our envelopes, which I know Taylor you've talked about before too, we do that now
Yeah.
to kind of organize things.
Yeah, I love that. And so with your checking account, do you guys just do a shared checking account or okay.
So we have a shared checking account, and every month we go through our Excel spreadsheet and we kind of see where we're at. So, like the monthly tasks that we complete on our budget is every month we sit down and we say, let's go through the last month.
You guys
Let's
have a little
see.
money date?
We have a money date.
Cute.
Yeah, we have a little money date. And we see if we reached our goals or if we didn't reach our goals. And then, so it's every month we sit down, we go through the numbers, and we ask ourselves, what did we spend our money on? Where did it go? Who spent what? And then we ask ourselves, is it worth it, what we spent that money on? Or do we wish it had gone in a different bucket or used for a different purpose? Was it a need versus a want, kind of conversation? We also get really, really specific. So we really believe that every dollar should have a purpose, or I guess that's called zero-based budgeting.
Yeah.
So you know where everything's going. It's not just money left over your account that has no purpose, because then it's more likely to be spent on things that maybe you don't want it to be spent on, potentially, at least in our case.
Yeah.
So we really make sure every dollar has a purpose. So that even comes down to our fun money, we call it. So we each give ourselves each month fun money. And we used to combine it. We used to say our fun money together will be this much per month. And then we had to change that because I was spending most of the fun money. And, my husband was like, wait a minute, I got like $15. And I was like, well, so we realized that doesn't work for us, which also comes to another point. Like, you need to always be asking yourself, is this budget working for us?
Yeah.
Is it not?
Yeah, definitely.
So now, and I don't mind sharing, we each give ourselves $500 per month. We don't ask each other what we spent it on. You can spend it on whatever you want.
Yeah.
But stay within that $500.
Yeah. I love that. You know what's funny is I didn't know you guys do that, but we literally do the same thing.
Do you?
We give each other fun money. That's what we call it.
We literally call it fun money.
We literally call it fun money. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
We call it fun money, or we call it like our allowance. But how that came about was, for a while, Brett's still in school, and he's been in school for the past 5 years. So I've been the one that's been, I've been the breadwinner of the house. And so there was this one moment, and I can't even remember exactly how we were like managing our money before this, but I kind of do. I'll get into that. But anyways, I want to continue on with the story. Yeah. He was getting into golfing, and he really wanted this like golf, I think it was a golf club or something, and he's showing it to me, and he's like, hey, like, can I buy this? And I just felt so uncomfortable with someone else, my partner, asking me, like, my money is his money. And I just felt so uncomfortable him asking me if he could buy something. And so we just had some more conversations, and I wanted him to feel comfortable to just buy what you want to buy. I don't care. I appreciate it because he's just not, just spending money and overspending and all that. Like, he wants to make sure that we're still meeting our goals too and stuff. So really appreciated that. But I thought, what if we both had funds where no questions asked, we could do whatever we wanted. So yeah, that's what we do. We also, when you talk about budgets being dynamic, in the winter time, we spend a little bit less. So we do about $350 between like November to May, and then in the summer we up that to about $500 because we're just doing more outdoor activities. We're going out to eat more with friends. So that's something that we didn't always do that, but I think this last year we realized, we're kind of hitting the max on our fun money, and we do want to prioritize joy and stuff. Before we started doing that, I was someone who, I love Excel sheets. I did try some budgeting apps, but I would just put in our numbers, and then after that, I wouldn't look at it again, and I feel like with a lot of budgets, you really have to track your spending to like, when we talk about how do you maintain the budget, you kind of have to track your spending so that you can figure out how much you have left in whatever category, right? Do you guys track your spending?
Yes, we do.
How do you track it?
The brutally hard way. Like, we literally most of our spending happens like on our debit card or our credit card, right? So at the end of the month, we have our fun money section of the spreadsheet, and has his little category and I have mine, and then we literally go through our credit and our all our transactions for the month, and we say this much, and like $5 was spent on coffee. Mm-hmm. Who was that? Oh, that was me.
So
right?
you do it once per month.
$6 was once per month. We go through our fun money, and then if we're over, like if I'm over, I spent $525, I deduct the $25 from the next month. I only get $475.
Oh, interesting.
So like we have freedom in how we spend our money, but we have accountability in like we can't spend more than $1,000 per month. That's what we have agreed to. And then we've had the conversation also. We used to be at $300 a month, and I said that's not enough.
Yeah.
Like we make good money.
I want to have fun. I want to enjoy my life.
I need a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah.
I need to be able to have a little bit more here. And so we talked about it and was like, you're right. And we adjusted because we're a team. So it doesn't have to be, it's dynamic, it's changing, but we do have accountability built in. Our priorities of how we want to spend our money are different. And so I felt like I was asking at times permission from my husband on how I could spend the money when we were having that joint fun money approach. And so by us separating, we can spend our money how we want. Mm-hmm. We have accountability at the end of the month to make sure we're staying within our limits. But yeah, like his priorities are totally different. He will save month after month after month and go make a $2,000 purchase. I spend my $500 every month. I'm like, I want coffee. I want that sweater. And then I felt like I was getting judged for how I wanted to spend my money. So now we have our little fun money accounts.
Yeah,
we can do what we want.
You don't look over here. I won't look over there. We can do what we want.
And as long as I'm in 500, we're good. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not, okay, that's fair. Deduct for the next month.
Yeah, I love that. It also gives us just that freedom to enjoy, you know. I think we talked about in our last episode with Maureen about that people feeling restricted and with budgeting, but it was really important to us to have this money where we're still enjoying our lives because, you know, as most people know already, we have 6 figures of student loan debt that we're still trying to pay off, you know, and we're wanting to prioritize, you know, still enjoying our life. Before, I want to get into kind of the way that we budget now, but before, like I was saying, we wouldn't track our expenses. I would put it in, and then, I mean, I don't know what I was doing with my money then. It just kind of was happening, and things were being spent, and we had credit card debt, and I don't know. And then I thought of this or found this, I saw this idea about, it's the envelope system, so similar to what you're talking about, what you were talking about, but it's a digital version because I'm going to be honest, we don't track our expenses because we don't really need to track the expenses. Like we have a budget and we figure out, okay, how much do we want to budget for food? How much is our fun money, our bills? So in that sense, we do the zero-based budget so that we make sure that every dollar has a job. And I think that's the thing about budgeting is your budget is your plan for your money. You know, you and I, type A people, we love to plan. I know a lot of other social workers, type A, we love to plan for stuff, but for some reason, planning for our money just, we just don't really see it that way. But I think having that reframe of like, what are you going to tell your money to do? Don't let it tell you what to do. And I think that's been what's been most empowering in my money journey is I'm in control. No, I'm telling you what to do. Okay. Like I'm the boss.
Listen to me.
I'm the captain now. We have our Excel sheet and we put in, how much is for food and all of that. And one thing that I realized that, I've failed at other budgeting techniques, and that's okay. And I think that's something that I've realized over time is it's going to change and evolve with
change.
you, and maybe it just doesn't work for you, because I've tried the, you know, the apps, and you know, trying to track my expenses. I don't want to sit down every week and figure out how much I've spent. I just never do it, you know? And so we combine.
So how does the app work with that? Like, I'm confused. So like for us, we have like we go line by line, but how does it work where you don't have to go line by line?
Yeah, so we do have an Excel sheet, or you know, Google
Yeah.
sheet or whatever, and we have it. We have all of our how much we're spending in each category. So we have bills, we have
Yep.
food, our
Yep.
fund money, you know, savings, and then debt. And we organize our bank accounts. So we have multiple checking accounts that we share. And that's
Got it.
kind of our digital envelope. So we have an account for bills, and only bills come out of that. We have an account for food, and then Brett
So
has
then
his
do you
own
use-
account, and then I have my own spending account, and then we have, you know, our savings account. So we also have this is a lot of accounts, but we also
Yeah.
have a deposits account. So when I get paid, the money goes into the
Yes.
deposits.
Okay.
And I've figured out that, okay, when I get paid, this is how much money needs to go into the bills account. This is how much money needs to go into the food account. This is how much money needs to go into our fund money
So
account.
it's like an umbrella account. All deposits go into one account, and then do you have it automated where it flushes out to these other
Girl, yes.
accounts?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So each
Except the
month-
bills, because sometimes our bills fall on different days, but so I kind of plan for that. But most of the time it's the same. So anyways, yeah. But I have the ones I for sure have automated always is our fund money. So it's like every 4 weeks that just transfers.
more.
Yeah, every 4 weeks the money transfers to the food, and then
okay.
you know, we'll have money left over for savings, and that's one thing that we do is, you know, that I typically recommend for people to automate their savings so that they don't have to think about it and whatever.
Yep.
You know, but I'm looking at our money every week just because that's just who I am, and so
Yeah.
I trust myself to put money into savings and like make those moves. So I don't have it automatic because sometimes, you know, our savings goals change month by month. You know, sometimes we're saving for Christmas presents. Sometimes we're, you know, things like that. But
Yeah. Do you then have different debit cards for the different accounts, and then you're like, this is my fun debit card, this is my bills debit card,
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I
So
see.
I have
so
in
then
my
each account has a different credit or
a different debit card. Yeah. And so I have I have a label maker, and I literally labeled food, personal, bills.
Okay.
And like the bills debit card, I don't, you know, really take out with me because I have all of our bills coming out of that account automatically. And then, yeah,
I see how you do that.
the food and the
See?
personal. And I absolutely love that because I can open up my app, my bank, and you know, you can have multiple checking accounts within one bank. I have a credit union, so they're not charging me anything.
Right.
So
Same.
that's why we
Credit
love credit
unions,
unions.
credit unions.
That's why we love credit unions.
People are gonna be so annoyed with me saying that, but like
Credit unions. That's going to be just like the running joke, just like throughout this podcast. Credit unions. So, but I love that I can open up my phone and
Yeah.
I can see, okay, how much money do I have left in our food account? How much money do I have left for my personal spending? Do I have $50 left? And there's one more week until I get, you know, replenished.
You got it.
What do I want to do? Do I want to go out to dinner now, or do I want to go out to dinner on Thursday when, you know, I have plans with friends? So it also helps me. I think that's the thing. I'm totally just like going off but
No, I love this.
I feel like that's
This is great.
that's the thing about the fun money too that we've learned, and because I think before We weren't tracking our expenses. We were just swiping here, swiping
Yes.
here. We weren't really saying no to each other, saying no to ourselves, and we realized that. And now that we have this allotted amount of money, we have to decide what's more important to me. Do I want this or do I want that? And it's kind of helping me. It's helped us just be a little bit more intentional in the things that we're buying and not just saying yes to everything, and realizing sometimes we have to say no to ourselves because we have these other goals. We want to pay off debt. We want to invest, and so it's helped have that nice balance.
I love that, and I'm totally going to try to talk my husband into doing this.
What?
Because the different cards for the different accounts, because I'm still going over my like my fun budget money or fun money every month, and I'm always getting docked. And then it's getting less and less, and I'm like, no.
Because it's hard to track,
I can't
right?
Track
you
it.
can't
and I
see.
told him, can I just go back to cash? Cash really worked for me. So I feel like this, even though there are more debit cards, he could choose to do it a different way. But for me, maybe it would be better
to just have your one
to just have my
account.
fun debit card, and then I can go on my app and be like, okay, I have this much money in there to spend.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I really also do not enjoy the process of going through line by line and being like, looking at what my husband spent his money on and looking at what I spent my money on. I'm like, I got another coffee. I went out to Panera again. I got that shirt. It was cute. Like, I don't enjoy that process. So it'd be kind of great to just have a little bit.
Yeah. Totally.
That's what I really am going to talk to him about that.
And I think, I think we kind of have it a little excessive. Sometimes when I talk to people, I'm like, we have 6 checking accounts. Like it's kind of a lot. I can understand that's kind of a lot to manage. And sometimes people just have 2. Like this is the house bills and food, and then this is like, you could just have your own. This is my spending account.
It's like,
even if you don't want to do it, I want my own checking account for my spending, and
to keep myself more accountable.
Totally.
And also just to see that number going down, that visual. I'm very visual. I think that would be really helpful for me. And the credit union we have here they print out the debit cards there they have a machine.
Nice.
They'll print out your debit card there. It's not an extra fee. You just go in, open an account. It's actually really simple. And when you get paid, you just transfer that money, and then you use that debit card for that purpose. I love it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
I love that.
I don't need his permission. I'm doing it.
I love that. Yeah, because I think before, we had all our money going into one account, and then I think to really be on track with making sure you don't go over in a certain line item, I think you have to track it weekly so that okay, how much money do I have left? How much money do I have left this month?
I'm always like doing it in my head. I think I did that. And then there's always something on the list. Like, I forgot about that one. And I agree. I
it's
think
just
it needs
so
to just
tedious. And I think, as social workers, I think we're just too busy for that shit. I'm sorry.
I literally am like, I'm tired.
It's a lot. I'm tired. I've seriously
smart.
tried to make my budgeting system. I call myself a lazy budgeter. I try to make it automatic, I don't have to track my expenses because like I just look into the account, how much money is left. But it's been trial and error, honestly, because it hasn't always been the way that we've done it. And I will say one thing that I think was a mistake that I had been making for a long time was I sit down, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a budget. This is before we found this system that really works for us. Okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to make a budget. And then I just have this idea of I want us to only spend $500 on food this month, or $600. I just make up a number. I think I was just always making up numbers. This is how much I want. This is how much I want us to spend on this. This is how much I want us to spend on eating out. And what really helped us become accurate is actually looking at past months Like, how much have you been spending on groceries? If you've been spending $1,000 a month on groceries, it's going to be really hard to spend
Hard.
$500 on groceries. So it's really important to look back. And I looked back 3 months and went through and highlighted all of our food purchases, all of our,
Yeah.
eating out purchases, fun money, all of that stuff to really see like what have we been spending. And of course, we were overspending, and so we did need to like decrease it a little bit.
Right.
So that we can, start meeting our goals and start paying off debt and things like that and get out of credit card debt. But just don't just like make up numbers. Like look back
Yeah.
and see what your spending habits have been, and maybe you can pull it in a little bit, but going from $1,000 to 500, it's
not
not
gonna
going to be
happen.
sustainable, right?
And I think also like try out different numbers.
Yeah.
Right? So like if you say, okay, we based on our past spending, on average we actually spend $1,000 on groceries per month, right?
Yeah.
So, but we'd love to get it down to 800 or trim it up a little bit. Let's see and put that in the food bucket in your checking account, and then see if you can do it and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you need to find a different place maybe to make that to find that extra wiggle room. And that's okay.
It's okay to
you can try
change.
on different budgets. You can, and there's no shame in it. There's no, obviously. How did you guys go about, like, how are you currently going about paying off your debt? Like, what does that look like, and how do you work it into your budget?
Yeah. So we don't have any like consumer debt per se. So that's like credit card debt or any other type of debt. It's just student loans. And right now I've been getting, I think I've talked about this before, I'm getting $40,000, a year for 2 years. So total I'm getting like $88,000. And so I've been using that money to pay on my student loans because that's what they're for. And those are covering my monthly payments. And also I can make a large payment with that too. And so
how did you get that again? Just for people who don't know.
Yeah.
What is
so
that 88,000?
It's the Oregon, I think it's called the Oregon Behavioral Loan Repayment Program or something. And so it was a program through the state, and they offered student loan help to clinicians who are working in behavioral health field, prioritizing people who work with underserved populations, minorities, and they prioritize clinicians who are minorities, or in the minority group, whatever.
Yeah.
So I applied, and I was able to get up to 70% of my student loan balance. So, but I had to make a commitment of working in a behavioral health field for 2 years, which my job that I had when I applied counted, and I was already going to be working there anyway. So I got an award of $88,000. And so every 3 months, I get $11,000 to put towards my student loans. So part of it, I cover my monthly payments, and then I make like a big payment with that. So I just got my last disbursement from them. So that'll be ending soon. But
so cool.
That's actually been that's been really helpful in covering the payments. But after that, we're gonna have to start making sure that those are part of our budget. And I'm just gonna kind of make it's a bill essentially in my mind, something that I know is recurring. I'm just going to put that money in our bills account. I'm going to make it automatic, and I'm just going to know like, okay, this is coming out of that. And so,
Cool.
that's something that we have to prioritize at this point.
Yeah. So you just kind of think of it as a bill that is now going to be in your budget as like a new bill, or as something that you.
What do you mean?
Like, will you have to pull from other buckets?
Oh,
like other buckets to afford it? Like, how is your budget? Like, is your fund money going to have to go down?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, good question. So I think the transition is kind of perfect timing into where Brett will start making money. And so he's going to now
Yeah.
have an income. So our income's going to go up a little bit.
Cool.
But I'm also going to be decreasing my hours at work. But I say all that to say, I think I do not want our fund money to decrease. I just want to put, I just want to say that.
That is not changing. Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
not decreasing the fund money.
Yeah.
So it might have to come from our savings. I don't know. I kind of need to see, what his checks actually look like because I have an estimate, of what they may be. But I, yeah, I want to prioritize us having fun. And I know, that's something that we can maybe get into talking about just our priorities and mindset and philosophy around, managing our
Yeah.
money. It's like,
Yeah.
I want us to enjoy our lives. We work, I see a lot of death in my work
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so does he, and we
Yeah.
just we know how short life can be. How corny that sounds, but I do want us to plan for our goals, and we're still doing that. Like, I'm still contributing to my retirement up to get my match. We're still saving and things like that, but I want to enjoy my life now, So
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
There's just things you're not going to compromise on when
No.
it comes to that. Yeah. We use the snowball technique for paying off debt. And just for people who don't know what that is, let's say you have 3 loans that are $300 each. You pay off the loan with the highest interest rate first. And once that loan is paid off, you take that $300. You don't just put that into your fund money. You don't just put that into your savings. You say, now I'm going to apply the extra $300 I have to the next loan. So now I have 2 loans left. One I'm paying $600 on, and one I'm paying $300 on. Or you could split the extra $300. You could do like $450. Then once that next loan is paid off, you apply all of that money to the last loan. So like now I have $900 I'm putting on one loan, and it's a way to crush debt faster. That's the idea. And your budget doesn't change. So like you're committing to live with that budget. So that is how we took on my debt. It wasn't like I got $300 once I paid off my car, or back into my budget that I could just use for whatever I wanted. I just used that towards the next loan, and it worked for us. We both had to agree to that, but it worked for us. That's how we did that.
Yeah.
So like when it comes to like our philosophy or our mindset on money, we really value working as a team. We really value being on the same page. We make decisions together around small savings goals, but also long-term saving goals. So like the first thing for us was paying off debt. That was a big long-term goal that we agreed to. Then it was saving for a house. Then it was family planning. And then we had something in our house we wanted to renovate, so we saved towards that. So it was like short-term saving goals, but also long-term savings goals.
Yeah.
And some of the things we would say to ourselves, is like, what do we need to change in our budget to get closer to that goal? Which one of those things for us around family planning was I needed to increase my income. So that pushed me to open my own private practice, to even entertain the possibility of having a family, right? So that, I think, before we even agreed, like, we're going to have kids and this is what we might want to do, that was something I had to explore first to see if we could generate the income. And then another thing we do is we try to live out the new budget before we actually change the budget. So if there's something we want to do, like we want to start,
Go on a big trip that you're saving for.
Go on a big
or something.
trip. Yeah, or like family planning. Well, what would a kid budget look like? oh, this is how much we would be paying for daycare. So that doesn't exist anymore. You need to put that into a daycare fund. This is how much food would go up. So we live under this new food budget. Can we afford, or like when we wanted to buy a house, this is how much our interest rate is probably going to be. This is how much we're probably going to have to pay for rent.
Yeah.
Let's live that new budget for 6 months and see how we feel. And if we're like, yeah, no, we can't swing that mortgage. We're not buying that. We're not going to buy a house at that price.
Wow.
So we like try on a budget that is a version of what it might be.
Try it on, see if it works.
Seriously.
That's really, it's such a good idea.
We want a new car. Well, that's what our car payment would be. Like, okay, how do we feel with that being out of our budget?
Yeah.
So that's something we've done over the years together as a philosophy and in a mindset to see, like, do we like that pain in our life? Like, does that feel worth it before you even get the thing that you want? And then the other thing is we're not afraid to know, obviously your budget's always changing and adjusting, but we're also not afraid to ask for help, right? So like asking for people's opinion or asking for family members kind of input or like, if they give us bad advice, obviously we would be like, well, we're not going to do that.
But thanks.
Being open to like other feedback, and not being in isolation with it. And then the last thing is really understanding like our philosophy, which is we tend to be very risk aversive, conservative, prioritize security and safety, which other people, it could be totally different for them. But for us as a team, that's what we really value.
Yeah.
Is to eventually obviously not have to worry about
money. I love that because I think that's something that we don't really talk about in terms of pairing with budgeting of what is important to you, like what do you value, and that's how we should structure the way that you're spending your money, because this is about you. So I think that's an important just question for people to ask themselves, while they're going through this process. I just remembered that when we were starting to kind of transition to this new budgeting system and paying off our credit card debt, we completely stopped using our credit cards. It was like, okay, clearly we don't know. We cannot manage that right now. I just wanted us to go back to using only the money in our checking accounts. We only used our debit cards, and that really helped us learn how to spend the money that we have. Because I think credit cards, it's easy to spend. You have a high balance, and going back to just using our debit cards got us in that practice of, if we're going to buy something on our credit card, we need to have the money in our checking account to pay it off, because what's the point of using the credit card? It's for points, I know people love to get their points for whatever. There's also a safety aspect too. Like there's a lot of, protections with using your credit card instead of using your debit card. You can dispute a purchase, stuff like that. And so I recognize the value that credit cards can bring, but if you're, in debt and in credit card debt and you're accruing interest every month, but you really want your points, and so that's why you're, using your credit card. The points, the interest is just just canceling out the points that you're getting, and so it's really not worth it. So that was a really pivotal, moment for us to just implement that. And once we kind of got comfortable, then we started implementing the credit cards back in, and now we get our points and all of that. And so I think that's one little thing that I will say in terms of our spending. I do most of I manage most of our money, and so I'll put a lot of stuff on the credit card, and then I'll have to manually go in and transfer and make sure, like, okay, how much food went on the credit card? I need to take that from the food budget, so there's a little bit of calculations that I have to do in that regard, because I do want to get the points. So we've gotten to a place where we feel comfortable using the credit cards. But I just want to encourage people to. It's okay to just take a break, pay off what you need to, and get comfortable spending the money that you have spending only the money that you have. I know that sounds kind of nuts,
No,
but
I think it's great. Taking a break from the credit card is really smart, and really to be like, okay, let me what is coming into my account? Let me manage what I have going on, and then I'm gonna get used to that.
yeah.
Psychologically, emotionally, like, okay, I adjust to that. Then let's introduce a credit card, because I know I'm not going to get in this pattern of not paying it off, and then that interest rate just like hits you. It's like, okay, I'm paying this off now. This is just normal.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of messaging like, well, you got to use your credit card, because then you got to keep it active, otherwise your credit card score is going to go down, and don't close a credit card. And no.
Yeah.
Just like,
you don't have
do
to
what you
use
gotta
it.
do.
I mean, they might. I feel like
No.
they'll close it after like a year or two if there's no transactions on it. I mean, even going 6 months to taking a break, that's totally fine.
Totally fine.
If you're if you just want this credit card to be over with and done, I've definitely closed credit cards because I just didn't want it in my life anymore, and if that gives you more peace of mind, do it. Your credit score will be okay as long as you're continuing to make your payments on time, and you start decreasing the amount that you have out, then your credit score will go up over time. You can get there. So, yeah, I totally agree. Just let it go.
It's not like just let it go. I also am like, I get that people are in different positions and it's not always that simple, so I'm not trying to be like, you don't know how to manage your debt, don't have a credit card. Like, people are more
sometimes we need
situations.
credit cards to manage our to buy basic things.
Totally.
Yeah, to manage our basic needs. That's super unfortunate, and I'm sure there are some social workers who are not making enough money, which is BS.
Why
we know
they have to,
that's a whole other conversation.
But like on the credit card thing, I think just again, it comes back to my philosophy. Like, I am very conservative and risk aversive, and like I value like safety and security, and so and I know a lot of people value that. So credit cards scare me, actually. I get scared by them. And so my husband and I, both of us don't have credit cards.
Fascinating. So, like, you guys don't have credit cards at all?
Credit card. We have one now. He didn't have any credit cards, and I didn't have any credit cards. And the only place that really affected us was when we wanted to buy a house.
Yeah. Did you not have any credit, or what?
I had credit because I had student loans, and I had a car. So I had some form of like way of showing that I've taken on debt and can pay off debt, right? So that worked in our favor. My husband was completely off the books. Like, people were like, you don't exist in terms of credit. He had zero credit score.
That's nuts.
And as a couple, we never took out a credit card at all. We were like, this is terrible. This is how you get like screwed. Like, so
I mean, it's definitely a predatory system. Like, it is designed to get you in debt, to get you spending, to keep you in debt. That is absolutely their intention. And so, let's not forget that for sure.
Yeah. So we were very like, I think, scared. And then when we wanted to get a house, we started like shopping around at different places, and they were like, well, you don't have any credit. And we're like, oh yeah. And so we had to we got a credit card through our credit union, literally for the purpose of just building credit so we could get a larger loan for the home.
Fascinating.
And honestly, it took us 6 months. That's it. Like, our credit card limit is $1,000. That's it. Per month. We only have $1,000 on our credit card limit. We've never changed it. They're like, you can be approved for. Then we started getting all this advertisement for like, you got a $10,000 limit.
Of course.
But we're like, we're not interested in that. The credit is for a purpose, which was to just show that we are responsible, that we can pay off, this little loan every month.
Yeah.
And they look at your debt to income ratio when you get a home anyways, and they're like, your debt to income ratio is 0 because you have no debt right now. So it was fine for us in our position we were in. But I think that's how maybe that's a horrible advice, but that's how it worked out for us.
No.
And we still are like, yeah, I don't know.
That's so fascinating. I
Credit
didn't know.
cards are just not our game.
Yeah, that's totally fine. And I think,
Yeah.
sometimes people aren't comfortable with them, and
Yeah.
that is the beauty of personal finance. It's all personal
Yes.
and unique to
Yes.
each of us. And because I love my credit card points,
Yeah.
I'm going on trips with these points. I'm getting cash back. Like I'm in the credit card point game. It's fun.
And maybe we need to learn some things about that because we're so freaking scared of it. But like, we do fly a lot, and so I'm like, I've talked to my spouse about like, hey, maybe we need to get a card where we could get some points towards flights, and things like that, and being creative. But
yeah.
So
That's fun.
so good.
That's
Do you have
fun.
anything else?
I
Any
know.
tips, tricks, philosophy, mindset, anything to share in terms of?
I think
Budgeting?
summary for me is just making sure you're having fun and having joy in your life, and being able to set aside money to have to buy things that you enjoy, and maybe it's not $300 or $500, maybe it's $50 because that's all you got, but
Yeah.
give yourself a little something that you can just spend on whatever. I think
agree.
that's helpful in balancing, because our priority still is paying off debt, and it will be until, we have like $199,000 of debt or in student loans or something insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, just prioritize some fun, however much you can. Be okay with updating your budget, changing the way you're doing it, and knowing that the first thing that you try might not work. That's okay. Keep going. Doesn't mean you're a failure. We've all been there. You kind of have to try some things to find something that works for you. Yeah, I think those are kind of my two main takeaways.
Yeah, I also agree with the joy piece, the fun money. I love that we both just on our own. We've never talked about that. We both just label as fun money. It's like a pressure valve. We all need a pressure valve or release. And if you're constantly working to pay off debt and you're never enjoying any of the money you bring in, I just don't see that as sustainable. I need a pressure release, a pressure valve. I need to feel like I get a little bit of this while I'm reaching these huge goals. Like, I need a little valve, right, to let that steam out, and so like I have a little bit of like money I can spend. I feel good about it. And then when you're out from underneath that cloud of debt, then oh gosh, you have so many more opportunities, and that pressure is really lifted off. But I kind of see that as like a little bit of like a, otherwise I think I would get really cranky, and I would just be really upset, and it would suck. Just like, I just feel miserable. And so we also have a savings for I guess I didn't mention this, we have a savings for vacation, of course. So
same.
Yeah.
We have our money in a high-yield savings account. I do love Ally, ALLY. That's a great savings account because they naturally let you do an envelope system. They call them buckets, and they just let you categorize your savings account in different buckets.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Super.
The other thing I forgot to mention that we also do for savings is an emergency fund. So like we have, I think it's saved at this point, what is like 3 months of your expenses or whatever, like the bare bones, like you can't survive unless you pay your rent, right? Like those kind of things saved, and it's just sitting there for like, it's like your own insurance fund. It's just sitting there in case you have a rainy day, your car breaks down, something happens, and a pandemic happens. You need to go do a huge shopping trip because you don't have toilet paper. No.
Yeah.
you lose your job unexpectedly. Yeah, that's more real. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I forgot to mention that we also have that as well.
Yeah. Nice. Love it.
Okay, what's our money moment?
Our money moment is So this is really interesting. I think I've talked to you about this before, maybe about Pokemon cards.
Yes.
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 I don't I don't think has it been my money moment before? No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Gosh, I can't remember.
Yeah. So Brett has these Pokemon cards. He's had them for since he was in middle school,
Ugh.
And what's funny is they have always been, he would collect them and they've always been something where you never know how much you can get for them. Maybe they'll pay for college and, you know what I mean? So he was really good about, keeping most of them in pristine condition. And last year, we're cleaning and I find the binder again. He's moved with them, of course, his whole life.
Yeah.
And I finally was like, how much are these worth? Like, what do we got going on here? If they're just sitting here, let me see. So I started doing a little digging into eBay and I found, wow, you have some pretty good cards. Like maybe,
No way.
what can we do? And it was starting to come up to his medical school graduation. And so I said, what if we sold some of these cards and we went on a trip to celebrate your graduation? Obviously, we're not going to be able to pay for your school because you're about to be done. But what if we take a trip and celebrate this huge milestone? I mean, it's been a long time coming. I've known him for 13 years now, and since I've met him, he's always wanted to be a doctor. So it's really cool. I know. Oh my God. I feel like I'm going to cry.
I know.
It's seriously amazing.
So cool. Oh,
so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Started researching, how do I sell Pokemon cards and all this. You have to get them graded, which you send them into this professional collector's agency. They really evaluate the card and they give it a grade from 1 to 10, and 10 is pristine. And it's really hard to get a 10, but when you get a 10, that card is worth way more than a 9, and so you just really want a 10.
You love that point system, and this is like another point system. Like, oh, give me that 10.
Give me that 10. So I've gotten. I've already sold some cards, so I have the spreadsheet up. Of course, I have a spreadsheet because people know I'm the spreadsheet queen. But you're gonna be shocked.
I'm so excited. Okay, what happened?
So gross revenue, and I say gross revenue because you have to pay to get them graded, and it's kind of expensive. And so we've spent about $3,000 on getting them graded.
Wow.
So gross revenue is it's $9,938. Yeah.
Whoa.
$9,000. Or almost $9,938. It's almost $10,000. So $10,000. And so in our bank account from the fees and everything, we have about $5,800. And so So we're going on a trip. We're going to Mexico City. So I've already bought.
Yes, you are.
Yes, I've already bought the Airbnb. I'm gonna get the flights. We're taking his mom. We can pay for her to go.
Oh my God, can I come? Seriously, like you're not for being your good friend. That's awesome.
So this isn't even all the cards. This is only.
I was gonna say, how many cards?
This is only probably. Oh gosh, what 30 or so. Because these were like some of the top cards, and I just got sent in a whole bunch more, 120 to get graded, and they're not going to sell for these high prices, but I'm hoping, again, gross revenue to make about between like $6,000 to $8,000 on these cards. So I say all that to say, if you have some Pokemon cards that are just laying around,
money moment.
please, go and see send them in, get them graded. It is, like I said, you have to pay to get them graded, but it's kind of to it's easier to sell them to get them graded. So even though it's expensive, once they're graded,
certified graded,
people trust that a little bit more. So
Yeah.
we wouldn't have been able,
yeah.
even though we had to spend a lot of money, and all of this money is coming out of the money that we've made, and so nothing's really come out of our pocket, but to make the money that we have made, we've had to spend that money to get them graded. So it's been cool. It's been kind of fun because I've learned so much about Pokemon, which I never even thought I would. But
yeah, this is amazing. I never hear these stories. I always heard about, like Save the Beanie Baby, right? Remember the Beanie Baby whole thing?
Yeah.
Or like the American Girl dolls. I don't know if you've heard about that. Those are becoming really expensive now and stuff. Dude, this is so cool.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and I can't believe there are people out there. I mean, I had no idea how much people love Pokemon cards, and also how much people would spend on Pokemon cards. Like one of the cards that we had, we got a 9 on it. If we would have gotten a 10, it would have been worth $20,000. Like, people are spending buku bucks on these cards.
That is insane.
And I mean, one of the ones that I sold one for $3,100.
That's amazing.
For one card. And people are collecting these. They love their Pokemon cards. It's been nuts. I had no idea that
it's like an investment.
It is like an investment, yeah. And we're keeping a couple because Brett loves them. He's like, these are my favorite ones. I'm like, fine. So anyways.
Let's see if they're a 10 first. Let's see if they're
I know.
Well, like even the 10s, yeah. Because in 40 years, those 10s are going to, I don't know, pay off our house. I don't know.
No, seriously.
That's amazing. Okay, my money moment is nowhere near as cool as that. It's literally, all right, y'all, it's so lame. We don't escrow our property taxes, so it doesn't come out of our monthly mortgage
payment. Yeah.
Yep, we just pay it at the end of the year, and that's so that we can invest it and make more money on it through a money market account. So we'd rather make more money keeping that, and then we get more money, and then we make the payment at the end of the year. That's my only tip.
That's
there you go. Don't escrow.
Idea.
If you can do it and swing it, don't escrow. Property taxes where we live are like lower, where I feel like we could do that. Like our property taxes per year are $3,000, so it's not like a enormous amount of money. Where based on where you live, sometimes the property taxes are like a ton of money, and so you do need to like pull it out. But yeah, we don't escrow.
What's the interest in your money market account?
It's a couple percent.
Okay.
It's not like astronomical, but if you already have a lot of money in there too, in a money market account, and then you're adding that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You can make a little money on it.
Yeah, we pay our property taxes through escrow, and I wonder, fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to sell our house anyways, but interesting.
We have a money market account through our credit union, and then we have another one through Morgan Stanley. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. Well.
Yeah, that's my money. Yours is way better though.
No, we don't need to do that.
We're gonna compare.
We don't need to do all that. All right. Well,
cool.
Great episode. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Bye.